Hello and welcome back to MacStories Unwind, the show all about whatever we want it to be about, right, Federico?
Yes, that's correct. Hello. Hi, John. How are
That's
you?
Federico Viticci over there from Rome, Italy.
That is me. Hi.
He's sitting there taking it easy. He's got the mobile gaming poster on the over his right shoulder. I love that poster. That's one of my favorite graphics. I have that as one of my wallpapers on my iPhone.
Today I got both of my dogs sleeping in front of me on the
nice.
chair.
That's nice.
Yeah.
A little company.
Yeah.
That's very good. I've got nothing like that going on here, but hey, that it is what it is.
Told you many times you should get a pet, but you don't want to. So not even a goldfish or something.
Yeah, no, it's just not in the cards. But I did see the other day when I was out for a jog. I went out 2 days this week and saw my friendly neighborhood groundhog. Do you know groundhogs, Federico?
A groundhog? A groundhog. So let me just Google. I think I know the Italian name. So is a groundhog what I think it is? Yeah.
You've heard of Groundhog's Day, right?
So yeah, so this is like a woodchuck, right?
Yeah, it's very much. It's really the same thing. Yeah.
Which is not a beaver. It's a groundhog.
No, I get it. Well, I here I am. I'm saying that I just as I said the words, it's the same thing. I thought to myself about all the email I'm going to get explaining to me how a woodchuck is different than a groundhog.
Yeah,
because one eats wood and the other one doesn't. Maybe I don't know what the difference is. Maybe there is, but they're similar, is what I'm going to say.
Okay.
A groundhog. So there's this one turn I make in our neighborhood when I'm out jogging, and I go over a set of railroad tracks. I turn right, and there's like this grassy ditch between the sidewalk and the railroad tracks. And the last couple of times I've gone out, there's been this big fat groundhog that sees me and scampers into a little pipe underneath the railroad tracks. This guy is living his best life. He's like there. He's in this grassy little ditch. There's like nobody around most of the time. Every now and then, pedestrian comes by like me, and hey, you know what he does? He just scurries over into that pipe, that drainage pipe, and he's good to go. He's protected. He's good. He gets back out. He eats some more grass, and he's fine. He's a fat, chubby little guy. I mean, he had a hard time.
Chubby? Okay.
Yeah, when he runs, it's a whole thing. It's a whole waddling back and forth sideways thing. He's
so hold on. They run on 4 legs, right?
They do. And, yes. And it's, he's not very fast, but he's smart. He stays close to his little pipe.
He's got a house in the pipe. He's got his little house in the pipe,
I think so. For all I know, I mean, by the time I see him because he's doing his little waddle back into the pipe. As soon as I see him, he's almost already gone and in the pipe because he stays very close to this drainage.
So
pipe
does he go head first into the pipe?
He does. He does. He goes straight into the pipe. He goes right in there, and I'm on my jog, so I don't stick around to see what happens to him. Maybe he goes to the other side and eats over there. Maybe he stays in there for a while.
How long is this pipe?
Not long. It's a single set of railroad tracks, so I would say it's like probably 2 to 3 meters total.
Okay. All right.
And it's probably closer to 3. But yeah, it's not a long distance, and it's not a very big pipe either. It's maybe, it's not very big across, but it's big enough for a groundhog.
That's cute. That's very cute. And a few days ago, I think you saw a big bird you mentioned.
Oh my gosh. The other day I went for a walk with Jennifer, and we live near a lake. So one of the places we walk is along it's a pond, but it's a pond that is really just a piece of the lake that's separated from the rest of the lake by a street. So it actually connects to the rest of the lake, but the pond has lots and lots of turtles in it. And so we always, we're on a nice stroll. We were going out for an ice cream. We would go look down and we see how many turtles we can count. We counted like 10 turtles that day.
Okay.
No snakes, which was good because Jennifer is deathly afraid of snakes, and there are quite a few snakes in North Carolina so far. And we also saw a blue skink, which we've talked about on this show before. It's a little lizard with a blue stripe down its back. And this pond tends to have these herons in it. And we saw a heron.
Big bird. That's a big bird.
It is a very big bird. It's got long legs, and it's tall. It's probably, I don't know, a meter and a half tall. And they hang out in the corners of the pond, and they take off when people get too close. and we saw one with a big bird in its, I'm not a big bird, a big fish in its mouth
Oh,
flying across the sky above us, like a pretty good sized fish, like, I don't know, as big as your forearm, basically.
wow. Okay.
So it was a decent sized fish because there are fish in this pond. And then coming back, we saw a hawk with a fish in its mouth. So everybody was out fishing. All the birds were out fishing that day. So yeah, it's that's living near a lake. You know, you got wildlife around here.
You got a lot of wildlife. The closest that I got a few days ago, Sylvia and I were coming back home at night, and
Uh-huh.
we saw, just peeking from the sidewalk, and as soon as he saw us, ran back into the dog park. A fox. We saw a small fox, just
Oh yeah.
just looking at cars, and I was doing this roundabout, and so when my headlights sort of pointed in the direction of the
Mm-hmm.
fox, I saw the little head and the ears, very tall, pointy ears, looking
Yep.
at me with the eyes, and I was like, "Oh, a fox!" and he immediately ran away.
Yeah, you realize immediately that it's not like a little dog or anything. It's pretty,
Yeah.
they're pretty distinctive. We actually ran across a fox one day walking downtown in the evening of Dublin, Ireland, just like in the restaurant district. It was in the middle of the city. It wasn't like out in the in a park or anything like that. And we used to see them in Illinois too, but I haven't seen them here. So
Wow.
yeah, that's Wild Kingdom, Federico. Wild
Yeah,
Kingdom.
I love the wildlife segment on Unwind.
I do too. I do. I like being outside. You know, it's nice. It's one thing that I like about North Carolina. There's a lot more outdoor spaces here than there were where I lived before because I was so close to a big city before.
Yeah, and now you mentioned you are going to you've started setting up the outdoor space on your balcony for like
I have. Yeah.
summertime work. What's your setup
Yeah.
looking like this year?
So it varies. I mean, usually it's just me and the MacBook Pro. I
Okay.
bring that out with me. And I actually went on Amazon. I wanted to find, this is a very specific thing, and I'd be curious if anybody, any of the listeners know any good solution for this. But I looked for what was effectively an outdoor office chair. So basically a chair with some, back support and arms, a comfortable chair for working in that was height adjustable, but that also could withstand the elements. As far as I can tell, I mean, there are lots of chairs you can buy. They're like camping chairs, but they tend to be low to the ground and they don't tend to be height adjustable. So what I ended up doing was buying a very cheap office chair from Amazon for like $30 and then covering it up with a little tarp to keep it from getting wet because it has like a foam
Yeah.
seat and cloth and foam seat. So I cover it up, and that's been working pretty well. Other times I use the Mac Mini that I've got on loan from Apple and a portable display out there.
So you just bring
which
out
I
the
kinda-
Mac Mini.
Yeah, I bust out the Mac Mini. I just plug it in out there and get a big screen because the foldable display I've been using from JSaw was, the FlipGo is almost 21 inches across when it's fully extended, and so that's a lot better than a laptop, and it's good for doing things like editing audio or video or something like that. It gives me a little bit more space to work with, and both horizontally and vertically. So yeah, it was a lot of work. We have a lot of pollen here, and so I spent Saturday morning scrubbing the entire balcony to try to get rid of the pollen. And I think we're mostly on the back side of the pollen season, so it's been pretty nice out there.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you for the wildlife and outdoor update on the
Yeah.
Unplugged segment of the show.
This episode of MacStories Unwind is brought to you by Textastic, the powerful code editor for iPad and iPhone. We've got some really big news today, folks. Textastic is now free to try. That's right. There's never been a better time to try Textastic. It's an app that's been trusted by developers, web designers, and technical writers for over a decade. It's one of the OGs on the App Store and includes all the professional features that you need, plus a ton of customization options and flexibility. You can download the app today and get a 7-day free trial, and there are a variety of upgrade options, including a simple one-time purchase or a flexible subscription. You no longer need to pay up front just to find out if Textastic fits your workflow. If you're working with code, Textastic is perfect because it includes syntax hiding for over 80 programming languages and markdown syntaxes, including web standards like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and mobile and systems languages like Swift, Objective-C, and C++, and scripting languages like Python, PHP, JSON, and even Markdown. You can even add custom languages using Sublime Text or TextMate definitions. Textastic has a bunch of cloud integrations too. You can use it with SFTP, FTP, WebDAV, iCloud Drive, and Dropbox. It even includes an SSH terminal and works smoothly with multiple files and SSH sessions using tabs or open files side by side in separate windows on an iPad. Textastic has a lot of settings to make it your own. It has powerful find and replace and customizable keyboard shortcuts are just a few highlights. Plus, the app supports the Files app, drag and drop, trackpad and mouse input, split view, multi-windowing, printing, and more. Whether you're tweaking your website, reviewing code on the go, or writing markdown notes, Textastic adapts to your workflow. Download the app today on the App Store and start your free trial. We'll have a link in the show notes. Our thanks to Textastic for their support of MacStories Unwind.
I wanted to bring one quick media pick to
Okay.
this week's episode. Specifically, it's a music pick, and I'm kind of cheating in that it's the deluxe version of an album that I mentioned before. This deluxe version is out in a couple of weeks, but there's 2 singles that you can listen to already. So this is the deluxe version of From Zero by Linkin Park. So this came out a few months ago, obviously. Linkin Park with a new lineup with Emily Armstrong on vocals, and I absolutely loved From Zero. I really think it's a great new beginning for the band. You can feel, you can hear that they are re-energized by this new lineup that they have, including the drummer, for example, Colin Brittle, I want to say is the name of the drummer. Anyway, I really liked From Zero. They are now currently on tour. I believe they added even more European dates, including one in Milan that I need to read more about. But in any case, they have a deluxe version with more songs for From Zero coming out on May 16th. And right now there's 2 singles that you can listen to. The first one is Up From the Bottom. That came out a few weeks ago. And the other one is Unshatter that came out last Friday, I think. And they're both really good songs. I especially appreciate Up From the Bottom. The video, as I was talking about this with Stephen Hackett, the video clip has like strong Severance vibes. Like they're stuck in this sort of like office space, and the lyrics and the name of the song are sort of like Severance adjacent. I really like Up From the Bottom. Unshatter is a little bit more violent in terms of like the aggressiveness of the song, of the music. Which I really appreciate, obviously. But yeah,
Sure.
I'm looking forward to the deluxe version. I think it's going to have 5 more tracks, if I'm not mistaken. From Zero was a really solid, tight album, like maybe a couple filler tracks. So I'm definitely keen to hear more. And yeah, this is out on May 16th, and you can stream the first 2 singles from the deluxe version now on all the streaming services.
This feels like a vibe you've been into lately with your music. Is kind of this Linkin Park, Skrillex, those kind of bands.
Very, very the opposite of mellow. Like it hasn't been a very, very aggressive music lately. I don't know. I'm kind of a Skrillex was like an exception, because typically I don't listen to EDM. But I really love that album because it's so weird. But generally speaking, I've been really into like punk rock, emo rock, post-punk, like that sort of stuff in 2025. Yeah.
All right. Do you listen to that while you work at all?
Yeah. Especially when not when I write, because I cannot listen to English lyrics when I write.
Yeah.
But when I edit, especially when it's like the final pass, or I'm doing images, for example, I put on some music. I put on that kind of music. I can probably write when listening to Skrillex, because it's mostly just weird sounds. Not a lot of lyrics in that.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, my pick for today is Gladiator II, which is a movie I watched last weekend.
Please tell me it's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
Okay.
I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean,
This is the one with Pedro Pascal in it, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Pedro Pascal and the other guy's name is something Mescal, I think. I don't have it in my notes.
yes.
And it, you know, it revolves around so
Is
there's a young guy.
Is he the son of the original Gladiator?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the you've already spoiled it, Federico, but it's pretty clear from the beginning.
Well, I thought it was obvious. I just thought that was like the whole
It is
thing.
pretty obvious.
Okay.
It is pretty obvious. It revolves around that. That's how they did a sequel. But he, as a young kid, was sent away to protect him from the succeeding emperors of Rome, and he ended up in Africa, and he was a warrior in Africa, and he's defending this fort. But the Romans come to attack this city, and he ends up getting captured and brought back to Rome. And it has Denzel Washington in it, which is really weird because Denzel Washington plays a former slave who has risen through Roman society and buys this young guy to become a gladiator.
Interesting.
And
I'm not sure how historically accurate that can be. But maybe it is. I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows? I'm not gonna. What's accurate here and what's not. I'm sure there's an awful lot of liberties taken with the historical stuff, but it makes for a good story because he's an outsider essentially. He's framed as an outsider who's pulling himself up by his bootstraps after being a slave, and is a very political creature. And he's using his gladiator to move his way up through society in Rome and play politics and play money games with other senators in the Roman Senate and push himself into a position of power and get the ear of the twin emperors in Rome.
Twin emperors.
Okay.
Twin emperors.
And I'm not going to give away what happens to the twin emperors and all the stuff that happens at the end. It's
so hold on. Who's Pedro Pascal in the movie?
Pedro Pascal is the husband of the. All right. So the gladiator's mother. Okay. He's married to the gladiator's the gladiator's mother, who Russell Crowe, I guess, played the original Gladiator. I think it was.
Yeah.
Russell Crowe and this woman had the current Gladiator in this movie. That was their son. Okay. And Pedro Pascal, after the Gladiator from the first movie died, married this woman.
Ah, okay. So he's the second.
Okay, so he's like the second.
The stepfather of sorts.
Yeah, kind of the stepfather essentially of this Gladiator, and he happens to be a general in the Roman army, and he's the one who actually captures his own stepson, not knowing that he is his stepson. So there's a lot of like all this kind of drama.
Family drama. Okay.
Family drama, lots of action scenes in the Colosseum. And, the other thing I kept thinking about while I was watching this is how accurate are their recreations of what Rome would have looked like in the day. And I think, from having been to Rome and having toured the Colosseum myself before, my sense was that the historians have a pretty good feel for what the Colosseum was like when it was actually an arena for gladiators. So I kind of felt like, this is, and I remembered a lot of the thing, the like recreation models and things that I saw when I was in Rome, and what I was seeing in the movie was very much in line with that, and I'm sure it was very similar. But who knows when it comes to like the villas and the government buildings and all the other areas around that part of Rome. But it was very beautiful and it was done very well. I mean, it's a Ridley Scott movie, and there's a lot of CGI in it, but it was a fun, it's like a 2.5 hour movie. Very fun thing to watch. And you might find it very silly, knowing more Roman history than I do, but I don't know.
Did you buy it or did you stream it?
I streamed it. It's on Amazon Prime right now.
Okay.
So if you have Amazon Prime, it's not going to cost. And that also, I mean, there's something about it. It's like, I'm going to be more disappointed if I pay like $5 or $10 to rent a movie than if I'm flicking through, the Apple TV and I say, Gladiator II. That's a kind of recent movie that looks like it might be fun to watch on a Saturday night. So
let me ask you, did Jennifer watch the movie with you?
Yeah. We watched this one
Okay.
together. I think she kind of liked it.
Okay, nice. Perfect.
So yeah. That was a good one. It was a family movie night last weekend. So
Nice. Very nice. Okay.
check it out on Amazon Prime.
All right.
All right, everybody. I am not going to give you an unwind deal today because you know what? I picked Fight Club, which is a very good movie. It was $5 and it's back up to $15 already. I just looked this up like a day or two ago. These things change quickly. If I find a good movie deal today before I post this show, I will drop it in there. So it'll be a surprise. All right. So we're
Perfect.
going to maybe do unwind deal surprises going forward so I don't steer anybody in the wrong direction. I also want to mention that if you have feedback about the show, things you want to hear about, things you like, input about what's the difference between a woodchuck and a groundhog, just go to macstories.net/podcast because, we're here to be educated by the listeners. We're ready to...
By the
we're just
wildlife
vessels.
experts. Yes.
We are vessels looking for information from
Yes,
our
we are.
listeners. In any event, that's the end of the show. You can find us at macstories.net and on social media where Federico is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHEES. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.